Have you ever wondered why your content doesn't quite look cinematic enough? Well, you might be missing out on this one very simple trick, and that is basically adding widescreen bars to your footage to make it look and seem more cinematic. This is because when we actually go to the cinema or when we watch a film, the aspect ratio is different from how most cameras actually film content. For instance, this video, as you're watching it now, and how pretty much every camera records, is a 16:9 aspect ratio. When you go to the cinema or you watch an actual film, they are usually in a 21:9 aspect ratio, which basically means that they seem to have these black bars on the top and the bottom of the content, which seems to make it look more cinematic because you only normally associate that with cinema release type films. And in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to get the cinematic look by adding widescreen bars. Yes, we are going to be talking about widescreen bars today. There's not really a right and a wrong way of saying widescreen bars. They could be cinematic bars, anamorphic bars, whatever you want to call them. We're basically adding a black line at the top and a black line at the bottom of our content to make it look and seem more cinematic. And it does seem to trick the audience and trick the eye into making it look and seem more cinematic. So there's a few different ways I'm going to show you today. The first one is going to be within Premiere Pro itself. So let's jump over into Premiere Pro and I'll show you what to do. So as you can see, I've got some shots inside of Premiere Pro now, all ready and waiting. We've got some nice slow-mo shots here. We have a nice bit of drone work here. And then finally, we just got me talking to the camera. So the first way of adding these widescreen bars, I'm going to show you within Premiere Pro itself. All you have to do is come over here to the new item button and click adjustment layer. Once we have an adjustment layer, we want to add that on top of the footage. If you don't know, an adjustment layer is an invisible layer we can add effects to, and it affects everything underneath that adjustment layer. So we're going to go over here to the effects panel and we're going to type in crop, and under effects transform we see the button which says crop. So we just drag that onto the adjustment layer to basically go to the cinematic kind of look, which is the 21:9 aspect ratio. All we have to do is change the percentage to 13% on the top and 13% on the bottom, and straight away, as easy as that, we've now added these anamorphic type cinematic widescreen bars to our footage. But the best thing about doing a crop on an adjustment layer and not the actual content itself is that we can still move around this actual content underneath without affecting or moving the adjustment layer at all. So the crop is always going to stay the same, but we can still reframe and reposition our shots. So for instance, where it initially was, where I added those crop features on, it's slightly cutting off the top of his head and the top of this little tower here. I like the tower and I want to keep the top of his head in, so all I have to do is move that shot down a tiny bit so we keep it into shot, and now when we press play, it all stays into shot. So this is how it was at the very beginning. If I add a crop to the actual video itself and I do the same crop on the top and the bottom, so 13%, and I've obviously still lost the top of his head and the top of this tower. If I now want to try repositioning it, I'm repositioning the whole thing, which includes the crop. So we don't want that. We basically want to make sure that we're only affecting the layer with the adjustment layer, so we can still move around and reposition this shot as we like. So for instance, I'm just going to move that down there. Again, a good example of this is this shot here. This is just me talking to the camera. If I just bring over the same adjustment layer, it's cut the top of my head off and it's not looking good. This doesn't look good at all. We obviously want to move this around, so we don't want to cut off the top of my head. I can slide this down, but we don't want to go too far because we're losing the actual top of the frame. If we bring it back up to where that crop comes in, which is there, as you can see, it's tucking in behind that crop. If we put it in just behind, now that basically means that I'm in a nice cinematic widescreen type aspect ratio. Also, one really cool thing about doing it this way is we can actually save this as a preset. So every time you come back into Premiere and you're re-editing all different projects, we can just open up your preset, and you can just add it on, so you don't have to worry about adding the percentage each time. So if you come over to crop, if we right click it, we can literally say save preset, and you could save it as widescreen, I don't know, widescreen bars or whatever, and then you click OK. I'm not going to do it because I've already done it before and I don't want to duplicate it. But now, if you just come over to your presets, it's going to save it widescreen crop right there. So come back over to our adjustment layer, get rid of that. So now we just got a plain empty adjustment layer. We can just get our preset we've just saved, drag it on, boom, as quick as that. We can put that across all of our content, and every single shot is going to have that crop. But just remember that if you add that crop onto every single shot, you might have to reposition your shots like this. And what a lovely face I'm pulling there. Okay, moving on now, let's jump into Photoshop and I'll show you another way of how we can create these aspect ratio bars. So grab the rectangular tool here. We can make this like extreme. We don't have to stay within the actual official 21:9 aspect ratios or anything. You can make whatever you want up. It's entirely up to you. That's the fun of filmmaker. We can kind of do whatever we want. There is rules, but some rules you want to break as well. So let's just make a extreme wide angle shot right now. So let's just say these two shots right here, look at that, proper widescreen right now. And that is what we're going to save and add that onto our footage in Premiere Pro. So we want to save this as a PNG. A PNG is basically, it holds transparency. So we obviously want this white section to be transparent, and we want the black section to be black, so we can add that on top of our footage and still see our footage through it. So we want to make sure that this white is invisible. By doing that, we turn off the background color right there. So as you can see now, this is invisible. We want to save this as a PNG. So come up here, click Save As, come down here where it says PNG, we want to make a PNG, and we can call it whatever we want, widescreen PNG, yep, that's fine. Choose the folder you want to save it in and click Save. So back in Premiere Pro, we obviously now want to grab our PNG, what we just created in Photoshop, drag and drop that onto here, and there it is, which is a PNG. I'm just going to delete our adjustment layer, which we just done. So now all we have to do is drag that on, and there it is, our ultra widescreen look right now. It does look wrong because obviously it's the wrong aspect ratio, but that's just showing you an easy way of how you can create it. So some of you might not actually have Photoshop yourselves. Well, if you don't, you can actually just do exactly what I've done just now within Premiere Pro. So I still like to use the legacy title editor right here, so we can just click here and it opens up our kind of text and stuff editor. We can do exactly the same. Get the rectangular tool, we can then drag a box here. We obviously want to turn that into a black color. We can then click this one, Control C, Control V basically means we're copying and pasting, or Command C, Command V, whether you're on a PC or a Mac. And as easy as that, we've now created our widescreen bars. As simple as that. We can now shut that one down. In our title, we can just rename that widescreen. I'm going to say Prem because it was made in Premiere. You can literally just drag and drop that on top of the footage, and there it is. As easy as that, we have added our widescreen bars. Finally, if all of that is a little bit too confusing, you don't understand adjustment layers or adding the crops, or you don't want to create one yourself in Photoshop, or you're just getting way too confused, the easiest way is to go over to Safari and just type in widescreen PNG, and the transparent layers are already there for you. All we have to do then is literally save that onto our computer. So you just drag that over to there, and as you can see, it's saved. Drag that over into Premiere. Once it's in there, all you have to do is drag it on, and there's your widescreen bars. As easy and as simple as that, and we can still adjust our actual layers ourselves, because this is obviously a separate layer which we've just dragged onto our footage. There are many other ways of doing it as well. There's no right and wrong way. I mean, we could have just created our sequence setting to be a 21:9 aspect ratio instead of the normal 16:9 aspect ratio. By doing that, we're not going to actually see the black bars ourselves. We're just going to see the actual video at a different aspect ratio than the 16:9 aspect ratio. But one thing to remember is YouTube doesn't like videos to be uploaded in a 21:9 aspect ratio. They still like the 16:9 standard aspect ratio. If you upload it in a 21:9 aspect ratio, they will still add the black bars into it. So there's kind of no point of doing that. If you're going to upload it onto YouTube anyway, there's no point of changing the sequence settings in Premiere Pro. Just keep it at a 16:9 aspect ratio and YouTube will love you for it. Anyway, enough of all that, enough of all me. I really hope you guys have found this video informative and interesting. If you have, please give it a big fat thumbs up, and I would love to know what other tutorial video ideas you'd like me to talk about. Comment them in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll leave you guys with those 3 very important things, which are, as always, stay happy, stay positive, stay awesome. Goodbye. That's my phone. It's my sister ringing me.